Hi, it's Xanthe here. Really tired, but I'm going to try and make a video where we've got a quiet household. I wanted to comment on this, basically some of the reaction about this Uta Frith kind of thing. So Uta Frith is considered to be an expert in the autism field. And she's made a few comments which have got people's knickers in a twist. So basically, some of the things that she said I agree with. I don't necessarily agree with everything she says, but just the whole point about the autism spectrums being brought into the point of collapse, I do agree with that, being observing for over 20 odd years. My own background is I fit the criteria for PDD-NOS, pervasive developmental disorder not otherwise specified, under the DSM-4, which some clinicians will merge into DSM-5 under autism spectrum disorder and others won't. Alongside that diagnosis in the DSM-4, there was Asperger's and autism, so they were pervasive developmental disorders. And then the DSM-5, there was involvement from neurodiversity activists to put pressure on adding masking, which has absolutely gone over the top. So to the point where people in midlife get burnt out, like people often do with stressful lives or whatever, and then decide to let's go and find something and come across the neurodiversity version, which is basically let's just make a few cherry-picked diagnoses of autism right down to traits in half the population and then make it into your identity. I don't actually call myself autistic anymore, because partly because of all the bullshit, and also partly because of the community has a mob bullying problem. I wanted to comment on a couple of the things said. Usually when they have a moan about Uta, there's usually lots of comments about misogynistic comments, about, you know, that she's female and therefore, you know, shouldn't be listened to or taken seriously. And then the other comments tend to be ageism, so they tend to moan that she's too old and, you know, kind of past her use by date and sent out to pasture, as one comment I saw. I wanted to comment on particular, if I get time I might comment on a few other aspects, but just one particular person. I don't usually name people when I'm going to this time. I'll just change over to my reading glasses because my very much aged eyes can't see up close or far away at the same time. So let's have a look. The person who has become an influencer pretty quickly, now I'm fogging out so I can't see through that either, is an account called Autistic AF, which I thought meant autistic as fuck, but apparently it means autistic over 40 or after 40 or something. Anyway, it's a chap called Mike who it's gonna be hard. I might have to hold the phone right up to my face to see what I was trying to say about this. Okay, I wrote a post because I've listened to some of his videos, and he's very much full on neurodiversity. I'm having trouble here. I might just have to clean my glasses with the proper lens stuff and see if that works. I hate this stuff because of the smell, but anyway. Sorry about this. We need to be able to see. So, can't read anything, can we? Right, so I wrote, I posted his latest video. He's called it Not Again, Uta, the paper that wants me undiagnosed. Oh, very dramatic. So I wrote, I took it over to LinkedIn and posted there because I think he's gone and silenced me over on YouTube. Anyway, I said, Mike having another whinge that Uta Frith wants to undiagnose him. Didn't listen to it all. It's got bored and fell asleep. That's absolutely true. I actually was just listening to it while I was kind of waking up and I fell back asleep again. Some background about Mike. Successful career, has bragged about his assets and lifestyle, got burnt out in midlife, came across the diluted version of autism and ADHD with high masking, sought out diagnosis. If I recall correctly, he privately got autism and ADHD after, you know, his very successful career and a lot of the rest of it. Okay, turned it into a business brand. So he's got Patreon and all the rest, like the rest of the influencers. opposes support needs levels and those who use the phrase profound autism. Now this is something, and that's why I've decided to name him. I don't like naming people because basically what happens quite often is all their minions will come in, how dare you say that, and I'll go for you. But I'm going to name him because he's you know, jumped completely on this neurodiversity movement thing. He sounds like a, you know, noisy cars. He sounds like a you know, an intelligent chap and all the rest of it. He's you know, fortunate enough to, you know, set up his lifestyle that he likes, and the rest of it shows off about his electric car, whatever. Anyway, so, but his business brand. But this is what kind of gets a bit me, is that he's one of the people that does the whole, oh, it's not a disorder thing, and there's no support need level, you don't need to be level 1, 2, 3, because he didn't get one. And he's opposing profound autism. So I'll just read the rest of it. I'll keep changing, excuse me for that. It says, well, that also goes with primary diagnoses with bipolar disorder and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, treated as much as they can. It's still changing a lot. And by the way, even though I had traits of ADHD, I don't meet criteria for enough childhood history. The funny thing is I actually still had more than all of these other people who claimed they were really high masking. I'm not sure if I'm speaking really fast right now. I'm really, really tired, so I don't really know. I'm trying to watch it back. Okay, so excuse me if I'm racing. What I put here says Frith is stuck in a DSM-3 era. He titled it Still in Her DSM-3 Era with an arrow pointed to her face. Yet I am sceptical with what he has revealed that he would have met criteria in DSM-4. And the reason why I say DSM-4 is because it just the merging into the DSM-5 with the autism spectrum disorder, adding the masking, it just about everyone can just say that they mask. It's a load of crap, basically. So anyway, I wanted to read a comment. I'll check with her first. She always says yes, but Shell. Now Shell is very critical of the changes. Now Shell and I don't see eye to eye about everything, but we do happen to agree about this the harm that we see being done with this dilution of diagnoses. But I'll just let's just read out her comment. So she wrote it, he's so funny about Mike. Uta Frith wasn't involved in DSM-3. Her major work was on Asperger's syndrome. That's Shell's diagnosis. And the DSM-4, and my son's diagnosis. And the DSM-4 era. In fact, Asperger's syndrome, what many people now assume is equivalent to DSM-5 level 1 autism, wasn't even included in DSM-3. So, without her there wouldn't be an Asperger's level 1 for them to hijack. So the claim that she is stuck in DSM-3 makes no sense. She is arguing that diagnostic criteria became too broad and the DSM-5. Not that we should go back to the DSM-3. You notice how the argument they go and skip the 4? Anyway. The pattern is becoming very familiar. Someone goes through childhood and adolescence without being identified, has a successful career or relatively typical adult functioning, reaches midlife, experiences burnout, then discovers the DSM-5 high masking autism narrative online, seeks a diagnosis, builds an identity and even a business around it. I completely agree with everything that she'll say so far, by the way. Although I did not know the details about Uta Frith, and I actually looked up to fact check, you know, not just take her word on it, and it is correct. Uta Frith wasn't involved, the DSM-3. Anyway, so anyway, that is exactly why the developmental history mattered so much in earlier criteria. Autism is supposed to be evident in the developmental period, not retrospectively assembled decades later from a diluted list of traits. Mike also opposes support needs levels in terms such as profound autism, which tells you a lot. The problem isn't that Frith wants to undiagnose people, it's just that broadening the spectrum has blurred the distinction between individuals with severe lifetime developmental autism and adults who were never identified when the developmental window mattered. Frith is defending diagnostic specificity Tried my best. Mark is defending the expansion that made his diagnosis possible. I mean, it's pretty blinking obvious, I would have thought. But anyway, so I replied, because I've left it after this, something along the lines that, you know, it's pretty, you know, it's not that hard to understand that the issue here is to do with the expansion, so much so that not sure which glasses to wear. No glasses, I'm fogging up with those ones now. It's so much so that it's expanded that world expert Tony Attwood and his colleague Michelle Garnett, or Garrett, I can't remember which way her name goes, they both now identify as autistic, both psychologists, and they're based in Australia, and but have, especially Tony, international influence. And he identifies recently as autistic. Said he's only just realised, and it's only because it's brought in, he says that, but he says without a disability. At the same time, they put a blog post, Michelle said that she's autistic. This is before Tony decided he was as well, persuaded by Michelle. You know, it's some people have been saying about this whole ADHD and autism thing with this social contagion involved. I think that with social media, definitely, it's still, they are still diagnoses, but they have just been watered down to the point of basically ridiculous. So they said that Michelle doesn't meet criteria either clinically because she has no impairment, but she's going to identify anyway. What a freaking joke. And if I've mentioned these people to some people who are moaning and groaning about Uta Frith, for example, they'll just go, oh, who are they? And, oh, but I'm in the UK, or I'm in the States, so I've never heard of them. But there's, you know, and one of them was a journalist in the UK moaning and groaning about Uta Frith. And so I mentioned Tony Attwood. And he goes, oh, I'm in the UK, so I don't know what's happening over there in Australia and New Zealand, because I'm in New Zealand, but I've lived in Australia. And I said, well, as far as I, you know, as far as I know, and I actually double-checked, Tony's actually British, but lives in Australia. I don't know if he became a citizen, who knows. But he was, when my son was diagnosed, very esteemed and an expert in the field because he specialised in Asperger's. But the funny thing is, he didn't even see it in his own son, but retrospectively applied it after his son ended up in trouble with drugs and the law and all the rest of it. But anyway, what was I trying to say about this? Oh yeah, but this journalist one that's having a big moan, which I'm not going to try to dig up the thing, basically he's in a big moan about Uta Frith. If I try to make an argument about some of his points being, you know, not making sense, what he does is do the whole, oh, you're acting in bad faith, or you're, you know, or try to attack something. Funny thing is he's a hypocrite, because he was complaining that people were making ad hominem attacks. So he said that word, you know, when you attack a person's character rather than their argument. But he's doing the same bloody thing. So a few of us actually pointed that out. But I'm not going to dredge that up. But the thing is that even some people, like even within the neurodiversity movement, I might agree with some of their points. There's, you know, some people I might follow and whatever. It's a point-by-point thing. But what I see with these arguments is that, like even someone today, when it was a female this time, when I pointed out something and she'll go and prove it, instead of making blanket statements. But then they're quite happy to make blanket statements themselves. It's just, what a load of crap. Anyway, I'm really tired. I'm just yeah, just been really burnt out. It's just a combination of medication change, not getting proper sleep, just needing a bit of time off work or whatever. And anyway, I just wanted to kind of point that out. Oh, and just something that's just so I remember, this whole arguing against profound autism, which some people were advocating for, and I can understand why they're doing it, and they wouldn't have even needed the term had it not been watered down so much with this whole autism spectrum highly masked and we need to unmask bullshit. But these same people have no problem with using labels like AuDHDer, autism and ADHD mixed together made into an identity, or, you know, mashing words together like that, or they have no problem with saying a late diagnosed, or they're moving on to late identified because they don't necessarily care for their followers to be diagnosed. They're just telling them to self-diagnose, but then they're moving on to saying self-identified, late discovered, late diagnosed, whatever. Now, there's people who don't actually need funded support services, shouldn't be clogging up the waiting list, which is stopping people who do actually have need those interventions and helps and supports. And it does matter, because over in Australia, like seeing with their National Disability whatever insurance scheme or whatever it's called, I think it's called NDIS, that was introduced I think after I left Australia, which was over a decade ago now, and then already it is just completely at threat of being, I think, from looking at reports about it, basically financially unsustainable because of all the children with autism stuck on it. And with autism, we got, or autistic, you know, people argue about people first, identity first, whatever. The thing is that these children, putting them on there when in a scheme that's supposed to be for severe and permanent disabilities, you know, with the numbers, you know, loosening the criteria, so that just everyone that's, you know, chucking everyone that's a bit anxious or whatever, or a bit sensitive under that label, and things can change. I mean, I don't want to go into everything, but basically, I don't have capacity to work full time. I struggle to do things that most people do. But where my son is, he had a lot of input when he was younger. But then that was stripped away because they made a new cut-off when the DSM-5 came in for children who could speak. So then he was excluded from that. So then a lot of people were chucking kids onto the what is it called? The NDIS, National Disability Insurance Scheme, or whatever it's called. But then people were complaining that, you know, their kids have been taken off that. Apparently they're trying to make something else for those kids that need some supports, but not under this more permanent thing. But anyway, okay,